This is the house of a modern art critic. If you'd gone to an art critic's house 200 years ago, at the time of Romanticism, you'd probably expect to see the hallway filled with sculptures and busts from antiquity, mixed up with a collection of sublime landscape paintings. How different will it be inside here? There are geometric abstract paintings and guitars and slightly kitsch-looking TV awards. Between Turner and the Turner Prize, there's been some developments in what we expect from culture. You wouldn't expect Ruskin, the great critic of the moral side of art, to turn up on a popular game show.
And with Paul Merton tonight is someone who, as a modern art critic, enjoys spending his leisure time staring at rubbish. So at least he's got something in common with tonight's audience. Matthew Collings.
The collection. It's not an art collection, but a restaurant. It's just a disconnected thought association that gives the place a bit of modern glamour. I'm here to say hello to someone famous, and to say hello to culture. This is the last episode of Hello Culture. In the series so far, we've met great poets and artists, and we've had a bit of a thought about the greatest heights of romantic culture and how they might connect to our own tawdry modern moment. You may be wondering why I'm now having dinner with Tara Palmer-Tomkinson in this swanky restaurant. The reason is that Tara is a celebrity, and this programme is about the cult of celebrity. It's about the loss of values we have now. A sort of higher value system has been eroded to be substituted by something that relates to our own economic reality, which is that the rich and the successful rule. Who are these weirdos? They're our new higher beings. It's the Success Show. They know they're acting. We're not even shocked when the celebs have their ups and downs or their utter downfalls, because we know their celebrity status can be shifted onto another persona. Do you think all celebrities, and maybe even going back to Lord Byron and the first celebrity people, do you think they always had that slightly knowing idea about what celebrity was?
If I think of him, I think of a good-looking, attractive Harrovian, the clubfoot, who, you know, had a scandalised sex life, you know, who wrote Don Juan, and he wrote that, whatever that Child Harold. Child Harold, you know, who died of diarrhea fighting the War of Independence. I mean, that's a hero. You know, Byron probably would have been the greatest celebrity today because he thrived off doing things which was shocking and interesting.
Yeah. I think when he started, there was a fascination with the works that artists did, but there became with Byron a fascination with their deeds and their personalities, and that was new with him. The National Portrait Gallery in London. It's got important figures of the past in there. We don't take them that seriously. We have our own celebrity icons from the media and TV. Because we're a bit ironic now, we don't take them that seriously either. Byron's celebrity was the beginning of that attitude we have now. Byron died in Greece in 1824, campaigning on the Greek War of Independence. Very likely he died of syphilis, but it was necessary for the cause of the war for everyone to say it was swamp fever that did him in instead. In the romantics room, they're all icons of tortured selfhood, and no one was more able to play that role than Byron, and to make it into the popular idea of what a poet should be like. But not everyone since Byron has bought that image. T.S. Eliot despised what he thought of as Byron's hollowness. That pudgy face, said Eliot, suggesting a tendency to corpulence, that weakly sensuous mouth, that restless triviality of expression, but most of all, that blind look of the self-conscious beauty. That was T.S. Eliot trying to see through Byron, and I'm seeing through Byron's portrait now, to its original in the British Embassy in Athens. What was Eliot moaning about? What's wrong with posing? Posing is good. It means you know what you're doing. It might sound trivial, but let's face it, you can't just stand there frowning all your life, waiting for something profound to occur. At least, that's what I think. I say, well done, Byron, for writing the line, Oh, why do you go on so, my noble Don Alfonso? Byron is modern and funny because he's willing to be superficial as well as deep, and he's willing to risk being thought of as unprofound. However much Eliot did Byron's reputation in the 20th century, Byron still remained popular. I'm going to make myself invisible now. Let someone else give a lecture about Byron. Some ladies. It was the ladies who always swooned when Byron entered a room.
So, please. This is the famous Byron portrait by Thomas Phillips, painter who lived from 1775.
If Byron were alive today, he'd be on the cover of magazines called things like Heat or OK. Celebrity meant power for Byron. He had affairs with society ladies who were all too willing to betray their husbands. Being a celebrity meant he could get away with that. Celebrity gave him access to political power, plus he could marry an heiress, which would have been impossible before his celebrity because he was only a minor lord, not an important one. He said he just woke up famous one day, and it was due to the popular success of his first epic poem, Childe Harold, another of his alter egos before Don Juan.
The costume reminded him of things that he wanted to forget. Anyway, he was immortalized in this costume.
I look at him here, and I know it's not really him. It's one of his constantly changing personas, like the changing tones of voice in his poetry, switching from tragic to hilarious, as if he was just changing clothes.
So the painting is following the drawing. There is, I think, a smaller...
What would happen if someone from our own age adopted different personas all the time? There'd be this guy, David Bowie. He's our modern version of Byron's act, where celebrity is something weightless that can be taken on and taken off again. Byron ended up exiled from England, writing all his poetry in different parts of Italy. David Bowie wrote his 1970s stuff in hotel rooms on tour, using a technique he got from modernist literature. When David Bowie was writing the songs for Ziggy Stardust, he famously used a technique called cut-ups that he got from the writer William Burroughs, where you write something, anything, and then it doesn't make any sense. You cut it up and reorganize it and see if a new sense can be made out of it.
This is the way I do cut-ups. I don't know if it's like the way Brian Streisand does his or Burroughs does his, I don't know. But this is the way I do it. And a lot of the things that I'd done, it seemed that it would predict things about the future. It would tell me a lot about the past. It's really quite an astonishing thing. Anyway, let's see what happens.
Culture's highs a few glamorous celebrity, the classical past, a figure so Tiffany, icons, he simply decided they, when we want to reference, instead of classical icons. That can't be right.
I'm an alligator.
I've grabbed these thoughts out of the air from the zeitgeist, which means spirit of the time, and I'm sure I can find some wisdom about the culture of our time if I just scramble them around a bit more. Wow! Our culture is fascinated by celebrities. They stand for success. Success is a value we admire, apparently more than any other. In a previous age, when artists or poets wanted to refer to their culture's highest aspirations, to higher values, they'd reference a classical past, a figure from mythology, or it might be from the Bible, or a great historical figure, someone who stands for something. Now, we don't value a classical education. We don't think about the classical past, we don't connect it to ourselves. When we want to reference higher values, we reference celebrities. We have celebrity icons instead of classical icons. David Bowie is an important figure in this idea. He saw that success seemed to be connected to a few glamorous celebrity icons, so he simply decided to be some himself. They were completely artificial, but it still worked. No one had thought of that before. He was glam rock Ziggy Stardust 1 minute, a smooth soul singer the next, and at one point a weirdo, occult, Nazi type, the Thin White Duke. In the world of rock, Bowie replaced the natural and the real with the frankly artificial. He's connected to Lord Byron because he's an actor, but with a modernist slant. He made himself into a modernist collage, a lot of bits joined together. And because he was arty, he deliberately left all the joins showing. I'm going to switch these cassettes now, like Bowie, switching his personas on and off. I'm going to switch the mood of this programme, back to romanticism.
The Isles of Greece, where burning Sappho loved and sung, where grew the arts of war and peace.
This is the section in Don Juan about Greece. Donny Johnny, Byron called his last great epic hero. In fact, the least substantial character is the hero. The real character is the narrator's voice, Byron's. A voice that never stays in character.
South, which echo further west than your sire's islands of the blest. The mountains look on Marathon, and Marathon looks on the sea, and musing there an hour alone, I dreamed that Greece might still be free.
These verses, which are full of noble sentiment about the classical past, to inspire a bit of patriotic fervour, are actually a parody in Don Juan of patriotic poetry. Byron is a freedom fighter 1 minute, then smutty and rude the next, making you doubt everything he did, but to enjoy the doubt. This is the Garden of Heroes in Missolonghi, western Greece. The memorials are all to heroes who died in the War of Independence, mustachioed, macho Greek chieftains. Pride of place is given to someone quite different. 36 years old, a foppish English lord, Byron paid £4,000 for the Greeks to raise a fleet. It was to free Greece from her oppressors, the Turks. It's not inappropriate to arrive at this sacred spot after a grueling budget-tour bus trip and find that it's covered in scaffolding. Rather than a noble site of a great English noble, it's a construction site. His vain self would be piqued, but his humorous self would find it perfect. Byron is a hero of a certain kind of comic, ironic view of the world, which seems very modern to us. We're not afraid to strip away illusions and to see how an icon of higher values is a construction. This statue of Byron in the Garden of Heroes at Missolonghi is really a statue to his own construction of himself as a hero of freedom. We look back at Byron and we can see that his heroic self, where he told the world he would fight for freedom or die in the attempt, was just another one of his poses. He did feel it, but he felt a lot of other things too. A hero for him was a character role he could pluck out of the air and then inhabit for a while, as he says in the opening lines to Don Juan. I want a hero, an uncommon want, when every year and month sends forth a new one, till after cloying the gazettes with cant, the age discovers he is not the true one. Of such as these I should not care to vaunt. I'll therefore take our ancient friend Don Juan. We all have seen him in the pantomime, sent to the devil, somewhat ere his time. Byron remained a celebrity till the end of his days. Weirdly, it was more his celebrity than any military abilities or heroism that he might have had, but which were never tested, that changed Greece's history. When he died, out here in the swamps, the world was so moved to hear of it that it began the process that eventually ended in the Turks withdrawing from Greece. In Missolonghi, it wasn't just the swamps that Byron was fed up with, but the internal squabbling, corruption and indiscipline of the Greek chiefs and their men. And it's completely unlikely that he would have changed much in Greece alive. But he died.